on the practices. How much is that is carried over now into the fall?
Hopefully a lot. You know, I think the good part is the intensity has a little more intent behind it now. I think initially all you want to focus on is just effort, intensity, flying around from thing to thing, and then eventually it adds intent. Okay, so now we're giving that kind of effort, giving that kind of enthusiasm, but there needs to be an intent behind it in order to do it right. And so that's where we're at right now, is adding some of that intent.
Ben, as a first-year coach in the Big Ten, do you look at what Dusty May did last year and take anything from that?
You know, not a ton. You know, obviously I learn from every coach in every situation, but I don't. It's two different scenarios. You know, I think that you can have success. It just really depends on the players that you coach and the staff that you've hired. Hopefully, you know, we did those the right way, which I'm pretty sure we did.
What do you think of the Big Ten as far as the competitiveness of the conference and who you're going to square off against on a nightly basis?
Yes, good league. It's a tough league. Obviously, there's no nights off. I think that's the biggest thing, the biggest challenge and difference is, can we have an emotional game and then 3 days later get ourselves emotionally ready again, and doing that at a consistent level is what we're trying to get to as a program.
I'm curious, as bringing Cam and Bennett, how was that your decision to bring both of them? Was it voted on? How did that process go?
Yeah, I mean, they're great representatives of, it was me, it's great representatives of who we are as a program. Obviously, Bennett's been in our program for 4 years, and Cam's a great representative of who we are and was in our program for the last year as well. So both are very well spoken, both are a lot smarter than me, so we try to bring people who are smarter than me here.
What is it about Cam that, because obviously you've worked with him less than Bennett, but what was it from last season working with Cam that stood out?
Yeah, he's gotten better and better. You know, I think just from a consistency and effort standpoint, he has high, like he can get to himself to a high end. Can we get him to that high end all the time? And he started to do that throughout the year, and obviously a state champion as well in high school. So some of that winning pedigree has come with him, you know, and a great teammate.
What have you seen from Bennett in terms of, you know, moving to the Big Ten, a bigger conference as a player, and how do you think he's handled it?
Well, fine. We haven't played any games yet, but you know, I think that he's similar to the MIAA. You know, we went from Division II past low major, went to mid-major plus, if you want to argue it, and he got better. You know, he got better. You know, he was second team all conference in D2, and then was MVP of the Missouri Valley Conference. So, you know, the only issues that I foresee in regards to that sort of thing is just our consistency of making sure that we're ready emotionally, night in and night out. But from a ability to play at this level, I don't have any concerns there.
What did you learn from going from D2 to Drake, that whole process? What did you learn about what it takes to win in that transition that you feel like you can or have applied in the transition from Drake to Iowa?
You know, when we went from Northwest to Drake, is that what you're saying? Yeah, so when we went from Northwest to Drake, we brought 4 players with us from Division II. I wasn't totally sure how they would be at that level. I knew that they could play at this level, but you weren't always sure from a talent perspective if that's what you needed, because obviously they were recruited to the Division II level for a reason initially, right? But I knew that they had the intangible talent to start our culture and to build it so that we could have sustained success, and then make sure that we recruit the talent necessary to win the Missouri Valley Conference. What we found out is that that intangible talent and that connectivity matters a lot more than we expected, and the level change wasn't as shocking as we expected. Now, obviously, now you're going up another level, And so your bigs are a little bit bigger, your guards are a little bit bigger, a little bit more talented, a little more athletic. The environments are different, and I think that'll be the biggest change going up, that we learned that, hey, we can do this, but it's going to take a monumental effort and nothing that we're afraid of to be able to do it.
And you guys have a couple of scrimmages coming out. How do you look
Yeah, it kind of depends on the scrimmage. So a lot of times our first scrimmage, in the past, I'll give you the history of our scrimmages. In the past, my first couple years at Northwest, we try to win those scrimmages, meaning we try to dominate them, and we play a certain amount of guys, and boy, we would win them. And sometimes we win by 25 or 30, and we finished last for 2 straight years. And so I realized scrimmages are probably more important. You do want to compete, and you are trying to fight and those kind of things. You also want to make sure that you work on what you're supposed to work on, and that you give people opportunities to play for extended minutes. So that's the biggest part of these scrimmages. The closer you get to the season, the more you're going to try to be really detailed on what you're trying to do from an approach standpoint. You're still getting used to scouts. You still don't know who's going to play consistent minutes. And so you've got to give those guys time. So if you put somebody in and the other team goes on a 8-0 run in a scrimmage, like, you can't overreact and like, oh, we're going to take him out because they're going on a run, let's put this guy back in. You need to give them time to be able to look through that in that kind of setting. So I have to be careful that my competitive instinct doesn't kick in, which it usually does to a certain level, to make sure that we give guys enough time to work through some situations throughout a scrimmage. And again, the first one is probably more time, the second one you probably get a little bit less time, and then obviously your first game it's on.